Hey guys, it's Matt. In this video, I'm going to give you my opinion as to why I believe the minions and the creeps through Hollywood is in love with this idea of the multiverse. For 10 years, it's multiverse, endless versions of you in other galaxies, planets, dimensions, universes. They express this through their Marvel movies and Disney, and DC Comics is doing it now through the Super Friends, and it is all over the place in the past 10 years. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Its roots go back a long way, mostly through science fiction. But I'll give you my opinion and I'll look to your comments to see if you agree why the creeps are so in love with this concept of the multiverse, why they're pushing it out. Somebody stumbling upon this saying it's just a desperate attempt to make money. No, they're not really interested in that when they can make as much money as they want. Sorry, come on. As soon as I hit the record button. Now, here's the most important part. Understanding this, in my opinion, relates to one of the most important things to understand about this entire reality, which translates into, for spiritual beings like me and you, the best news of all time. Okay, that's the more important part. It translates, understanding what they're trying to do with the multiverse, in my opinion, translates into understanding that the cardinal rule for beings like us as to what we should not and never do in this reality is never, ever approach anything from the idea that we are a victim. I mean, to me, this is what this whole multiverse concept is all about. Anything that, in terms of interpreting how this reality works, where the ultimate conclusion or outcome is victimhood for beings like us, is wrong. Let me say that again. Any sort of interpretation of how anything works where we are in any way a victim of circumstance is incorrect and exactly what the Not Nelk wants us to do. I'm sorry, but here we go again. A soul trap is a great example of this. Okay? There's areas where I disagree. I agree with a little bit of it. I disagree with some of it. But in general, this is not going to turn into a, is there any merits on those to present the soul trap type of video? In general, if the ultimate conclusion is victimhood, though we are going to be subject as a victim to, say, soul trap, it is incorrect. That is exactly what the entire reality is out to do, to get people to believe they're a victim. That doesn't mean there might not be a trick or a desperate last attempt by these minions in the green room, in the space between realities, where they try to, pull some bullshit off. But it's all, let's just get right to the conclusion. Everything here is up to us. It comes back to this every time for me. And it's the greatest news of all time. Meaning, I might say, hey, I don't completely disagree with people that talk about soul trap or whatever. If there's some desperate attempt by some creature related to Melvin P. and the Minions in some area between the worlds that they're going to try to trick me, well, fine. Well, maybe that does exist, but I would say, so what? I've done all the work now. Nothing would work on me. So what? I'm not a victim here. I'm not going to be a victim there. I'm doing the work here, as above, so below. It'll translate there. So again, I'm not saying, well, Matt, there's thousands of testimonies that there's some sort of trick that's going to. Well, maybe there is. Maybe that's all correct. But the point is to say, well, so what? So what? The trick doesn't work here. It's not going to work there. So that when you do that, I'm not disagreeing with those that say there could be a trick, but you have to be careful in terms of what you expect, because you probably manifest and help manifest what you expect. It gets back to, I think, one of the most important realizations that I've ever come up with, or I'm not saying I was the first, but I started expressing this 5 years ago. Why is it working so hard? Why is it works so hard to propagate its trick that it tells us everything we need to know about ourselves? I mean, it is literally a few sentences. If it's working hard to propagate a trick, then we are the ones in the position of power. Then we are the ones ultimately in control. It's the whole truth drop of Dorothy at the end of The Wizard of Oz. She could go home at any time. Just thought she had to run around and do tasks, and it's exactly our situation here. So getting back to the premise here, This is the more important part, of course, but the premise or the more interesting part initially may be, why are they so interested in this multiverse? Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It's in now these James sent me little clips or links to the new DC Comics, Superman, Wonder Woman, DC Comics, Super Friends movies. It's all about the multiverse now. And there's unlimited versions of Batmans and Earths. And Earth, this is Earth 50, this is Earth 1000. And these evil entities are destroying Earths across the multiverse. And the trick from the Not-Nilk's perspective is to get people watching it to believe that, okay, if there are other aspects of me or of you, that it's just like me. It's another individual in the flesh. It's another. It's okay. It's kind of, in the past it was, this is all you are. Is you here on earth is all you are. We talk about, many of us talk about that we realize we are an aspect of a spiritual being sorts that we don't understand. We're not really meant to understand because we come in here, Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid, but we're a small aspect of something else. The dream character is an aspect of something else, that one layer up, you in the bed. The dream character doesn't have any understanding that there's someone in the bed. Fine, we're an aspect of something much greater. So maybe, in the floating Baphomet goes up and the minions morph into the shape of a monkey, and they have their meeting and then say, we need to give him a little more. We need to, they're getting a sense that they're greater than just this place. How do we keep them distracted for a few more decades? Because they're getting an inclination that this is not all they are, this thing here on Earth. And one of the monkeys, probably George Soros in the form of a certain type of primate, stood up and said, oh, we'll give them the multiverse through these idiotic movies, and they'll believe it'll satisfy a certain inclination in them that there's more to them than this place. But we'll tell them, and we'll put it in their idiotic monkey minds. And it's kind of ironic because George Soros is making this presentation in the form of a monkey, but they're a lower being than we are. We're going to put in their minds that they are infinite, that they are, but it's just other versions of them in a body. The one on Earth 50 has hemorrhoids. The Matt or the Judy or the Tom or Smith, Dick or Harry on Earth 4000, that one was in a car accident and can no longer walk. This one is having, it's just getting them to think that they are greater, but it's just them in a body. When we have to understand we are greater, but it's not multiple and limited versions of Matt in a body, in a fleshy body that it stinks. No, it's a spiritual being, something much, much greater than this. This is probably one of the lowest places an entity like us can be. They'll never get you thinking there in that way. And what relates to the greatest news of all time is, why is it so important for them to get you and me thinking a certain way or believing a certain thing through another aspect of the trick, unless in this case, the endless multiverse stories through Hollywood in the last 10 years. Why is it so important for them to get you to believe something like that? Or if you don't like this example, any aspect of the trick to get you to believe that you're powerless or to get you into a state of fear. It's all a trick. Well, the only answer to that is obvious, because we ultimately are in control of everything. What we say or say for ourselves goes, because we're not a victim to anything. Okay, that it's literally that simple. Or it would not be playing a trick, as I've said 100 times. The entity or the creep that, or whatever it is, a magician or whatever it may be, that lays down or is trying to put forth the trick, is not in the position of power. They're trying to the person that is being tricked is the higher person on the org chart. They need to decide if they'll fall for the trick or not. Everything is being set up for them, whether it be a magic show, a trick by fake news, whatever it may be. It's all being set up for you, set up for them. You have the higher position. You're in the position of power, whether you'll fall for it or not. It's not up to the trickster in any way. It's up to you if you'll fall for it or not. The trickster can't do anything on its own. The magician isn't out back doing tricks on its own. The magician is front of the third grade class. It needs to perform in front, and it needs a buy-in that's a lower position. So sorry that wasn't said exactly correctly or well, but I've said it in the past. So when there's some things here, or a whole set of circumstances here in this reality, that is potentially a million different forms of the same trick, all for the same reason, then it tells you you're in control of everything. There is no ever a situation where you would consider yourself a victim of anything, because you're much greater than this entire reality. I don't think they can completely violate free will, especially for whatever type of entity we are. It doesn't seem that way, or why does it continuously play a trick? If it can in any way violate, free will, then it gets much more out of getting your buy-in, much more if you give yourself over to it freely. When we talked about many times the example of, the devil doesn't seem like the devil here, whatever the devil represents in terms of the creeps or the creepy dark infrastructure here, that the devil can't just pull up in its pickup truck and tie you up and throw you in the back bed and drive away. It has to trick you into the car, or the Johnny Daniels, the Charlie Daniels band. The devil went down to Georgia. Why didn't he just hit Johnny over the head and throw him in the back of the pickup truck? No, you want to do a fiddle competition? The devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a soul to steal. Well, the devil lost on purpose, of course. And that's the real meaning of that song we've talked about in a few videos over the years. The devil doesn't lose to Johnny. He wanted him to win the gold fiddle. Then what do you think Johnny did, coming from the hills of Appalachia? What do you think he did with a gold fiddle? Now he's all of a sudden worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He probably instantly became addicted to all sorts of drugs, got himself into dubious business ventures. That gold fiddle. Johnny was just minding his own business up in the hills of Appalachian, playing the dueling banjos and fiddles with that thalidomide baby that was in Deliverance. Now the gold fiddle. Now Johnny's in the world. He's in the world of Donald Trump, and he lost on purpose, of course. So the devil. The whole point is he needed to facilitate a trick. The trick was the fiddle competition. It facilitates a trick here. So I think I don't think it can violate free will up into a certain degree. But the point is, in long-winded fashion, I apologize. The main point is, let's just say I'm wrong. And as I'm recording this, the black helicopters come and they rappel down with ladders. And you see me there's a hood being put over and they take me out. And well, Matt, and somebody might be crying out, of course, Matt, if they come with the black helicopters and take you away, surely by definition you're a victim. No, we cannot ever be. This is completely up to us. We can never ever put ourselves into victim mentality. If you truly knew what you were, meaning you're much, much larger than this entire reality, then let's just say they come with the black helicopters and they throw me in the back of the trunk. And I don't think that could happen. Again, free will. But let's just, I don't know. Am I a victim? No, not if I truly see that I'm bigger than this place. That exact scenario happens in your dream last night. Whatever happens in your dream, you're locked away in wherever, in a dream. Do you consider yourself right now a victim? Of course not. It was a dream, right? This will be exactly the same to the next level up. And how ridiculous would it look from 1,000 levels down, or whatever the next level after that is? I mean, you believe your dream right now is as I do, completely inconsequential. My cousin, I've told you in the past, I've tell him about my dreams, and he'd say, I'd never go to sleep if I had those dreams. My dreams have been much, much better in the past 5 to 10 years. It was more like when I was a Matrix child. Maybe it's as the cognitive dissonance was manifesting in the dream. When I was a Matrix child in San Francisco, living with my cousin, we're sharing the rent in San Francisco. It was so expensive during the dot-com boom, working for the big insurance company. I would tell him about these dreams. He'd say, I'd never go to sleep. I remember telling him one about a pack of dogs chasing me. One was biting me in the butt, in the back of the leg as I was running. But see, okay, I'm telling my cousin about it. I'm laughing about it. Did I consider myself a victim? Did I call a 911 or did I try to get counseling? I didn't know. It's just a dream, right? So, yeah, this seems real, but you have to put in your mind, no matter what happens, let me repeat that. No matter what happens, you cannot see yourself as a victim here. If you see yourself as a victim, it is completely up to you, and you're doing exactly what the Not Milk wants. I know it's not easy. If the black helicopters come and rappel down with their Batman grappling hooks and come in here and they put a bag over my head and take me to a CIA interrogation room somewhere on the south side of Istanbul, I'm not going to like it. But it's up to, even in that situation, it'll be up to me if I declare myself a victim, right? And that's hard, would be hard work to get through that and not think you're a victim. People are in some very horrific circumstances, even people listening to my voice right now. I'm telling this is one of the fundamental truths of this entire reality. Don't ever forget Dorothy at the end of The Wizard of Oz. Everything was simply up to her. It's the biggest, most literal truth drop of all time to our situation. Could get out at any time. As I've said, and I say now once a week, didn't need those ghetto shoes. Didn't need those ghetto pumps to get the F out of Oz. They had to kind of present it that way because it is a movie and the people shoving the popcorn, get me another Coke, shoving the popcorn in their mouth. And it had to, it's still a movie and it has to present itself first and foremost as a movie, or L. Frank Baum or Frank L. Baum or the people that put it together. They didn't know anything. They weren't trying to lay down any spiritual information. They just tried to make a movie, but you know what comes out. That's the way the reality works. The spiritual messages come out, whether the person writing the song or creating the movie knows that message is embedded or not. It's one of the greatest notices that Vanessa VA, in my opinion, ever brought to our community, which she called the retrocausality language. That is a tremendous contribution to our endeavor. I haven't listened. I don't know what she's up to. I wish her the best. The retrocausality language, where the spiritual message, when I heard her say that, I said, that's exactly right. That explains. This entire piece was missing. That's it. And the artist or the movie director or producer doesn't even have to know. Maybe most of the time, we could debate that, doesn't even know if the message is in there or not. I mean, the first grade truther, believes that, oh, well then, Matt, L. Frank Baum or Frank L. Baum or whatever, that I'm very skeptical of people that put a F. Scott Fitzgerald. What's that all about? Just write your name. That's strange to me. Do I write my name as, G. Matt McKinley? This is stupid. Sorry, I'm not, are you skeptical on those people, Matt, in the way you're skeptical when there's a perpetrator or an assailant in a mall event or a school event? It's always three names? Not that, it's not that bad. It's not that. Matt, don't let it break down just yet. Sorry. So, Frank L. Baum, he probably didn't, we could debate that, whether they knew or, in most cases, I don't think they know. The spiritual message that comes from Humpty Dumpty, the reality sees to it. The entire reality is a wake-up tool for entities like us. And there's thousands of different systems here and groups and people that facilitate the wake-up. The wake-up in this reality is like a truck and tractor pull. I've talked about this in the past with a few videos. And when the truck slams into first gear and they put pedal to the metal, they're moving the weight. And the weight is slowly moving forward, and it gets harder and harder. But in a video, maybe a year and a half to 2 years ago, I equated that to not as it getting harder, but it's actually getting easier, at least for people like us, because the sliding of the weight forward is akin to the reality breaking down all around us. Each political cycle gets more and more ridiculous. I can go back to CNN almost weekly, and the news headlines get more and more ridiculous or harder to believe, or circumstances that would never happen 2, 3, or 4 decades ago. Certainly circumstances that would never happen in the last century. There's something very different in the last century where, again, I think it does. I don't want to go astray here because this is all irrelevant to what we need to do for ourselves. Worry about ourselves. Worry about yourself. Part 2, the work, the worry about yourself activities. All of this, what the creeps are up to, is completely irrelevant. That needs to be said better and was way too long. Completely irrelevant what the creeps are up to as long as we see through the trick. I was talking about how the big day, September of 2001, did something to reality. I'm going to shrink it down to 2 minutes. It was way too long. We'll do a whole video on it some other time. But what I was talking about relates to the calendar. Many people say when you move from 99 to 00, that's not the first year of the new century or millennium. You need to go from 00 to 01. And then potentially September, you know what? If 01 was the first day of the new century or millennium, then September whatever could be the first day of the new century or new millennium. We have no guarantee that the calendar they've given us is worth more than a squirt of you-know-what. They tell us January 1st is the first day of the year. Just as some calendar they gave us. I'm sure it's not the real calendar they use. It doesn't sync up with moon cycles or what the Chinese use. And so it's just something for Dick Clark. For January 1st. Is he still? No, I know. But it's obviously not the real calendar. So why shouldn't we assume that September, why shouldn't we assume that was the first day of the new century or the new millennium? And on that first day, they cast a very dark spell that did something to reality, changed it. I mean, this is where I was getting long-winded and I need to wrap it up. We could ponder this for hours. Including all the way down one end of the spectrum is they moved reality off to the side in some way. I mean, that is not off the table. But in terms of the point is we're not a victim. Whatever, if we're larger than this entire reality, everybody watching me, their inner knowing tells you that, no matter what your religion is. If you go off, if you're a Christian, you go off to heaven and you're with your Lord and Savior is Jesus Christ, and that you're a spiritual being that's trillions of times just from that larger than this reality. No matter what your religion or belief set is, we all believe that we are much bigger than this place. So if they moved reality off to the side, they summoned the Cenobites on September whatever from Hellraiser, and they put the reality into their little box. Their little evil cube, it doesn't matter. We're bigger than the entire reality. So the point is, the victim, what is it? Why is it working so hard if it's in control? Matt, you're not going to say that again. That realization is one of the most important realizations of all time. It should be said over and over again in every single video with no other topics. What is it working so hard for? If it's in control? Well, it's not in control. The magician presenting to the second graders in the birthday party, the second graders are in control. The magician is not in control in any way. He's trying to get something out of the second graders. If he gets a laugh or the wondrous eyes, where'd that rabbit come from the hat? Then he can get another. The father then approves. He can get another gig. He can continue to make money. That magician is not in any way in control. I mean, we've been over this. So it translates, since the entire reality is working against us to lay down the trick, it translates into the greatest news of all time. And you just can't, let's just go back to the absolute basics. I know it's obvious at this point, but it's too important. Is there any situation you could come up with where you could raise your hand in the back of the Amish classroom? Those spitballs down. Pay attention. Where you'd say, I can come up with an idea where it's okay where we're victims. It's okay to say, oh, woe is me, I'm a victim. Can you come up with any situation where that's okay? What's the worst case scenario? What I mentioned, the black helicopters. Oh, here they come with they're rappelling down in ropes and somebody's going to put a damn rice or corn sack over my head, and they're going to take. No, it's even in that situation, it's not okay. It's victim. It's not okay. It's up to you. Well, what if they're going to take you out back and dispose of you? It's still up to you. Do you truly believe you're bigger than this place or not? If that happened to the dream character, would you care? Would you care 5 seconds after waking up? If that happened to you in a dream, would you care? Oh, I smell French toast. Mom, you making French toast? You wouldn't give a shit. What makes you think the next layer up is this to the next layer? It's obvious, of course. It seems so real. Yeah, it does. It's a very well done, crafted illusion. I know this, I mean, it just seems almost wrong. I'm sorry that I'm saying this. It's almost wrong. So let me get this straight, Matt. You're real smart coming from Davenport. You went through the 10th grade at Davenport, didn't quite make it to the 11th grade, and you're telling me that even people in World War II, as they're being, or World War I, whatever, I don't want to get into that stigma around the possibility, all that bullshit that comes out of the truth community, whatever it may be. If you were people that were taken prisoner by the Viet Cong and they were tied to a tree and they said, you're going to be, whatever in the morning, you're going to be taken out in the morning, that those people, as the firing squad approach, whatever, should truly believe, at least to the best of their ability. Understand we have limitations in this body and everybody would be fearful in that situation. That's okay. But to truly believe and to hold on that I'm much bigger than this place. I'm not a victim. That would be the way to go about it. Well, easy for you to say, Matt, sitting in there. You never leave the house. You weren't in the jungles of Vietnam. Okay. What is your forget what I'm saying. What does your inner knowing tell you? Would that be the one scenario? It would be okay to say, I'm a victim. Every bit of your inner knowing tells you there's not one situation, once you really understand or get even a tiny sense as to who you really are, that anything here should equal victimhood. Okay, it's not, I'm sure your inner knowing agrees with what I'm saying. Therefore, any conclusion here, as I said earlier, that leads to victimhood is wrong. It's that simple. If a certain presentation on YouTube is presenting Soul Trap as if we are victims, it's wrong. If it's presenting Soul Trap as here's what to watch out for, once we know a few things, we can beat it easily. I still don't love that because you manifesting it. Does it work here to get us to manifest things? Does it work? Do you think? Does it act in terms of laying down its trick? Does it act like it needs us to create the reality that it wants? It does act that way, doesn't it? To get us to believe certain things in a way, then somehow in a mechanism or a metaphysical process we don't understand, we are responsible for this reality. We manifest it. We create the environmental situation, like the example I keep using, that the Borg on Star Trek wants, in this case the creeps, the minions. They don't seem like they can do it on their own. That's why they lay down a trick. So if we actually can manifest in some way are responsible for the reality itself, and that's why they're always playing a trick in front of us, then that's just another factor by itself that proves we're bigger than the reality. How can we be a victim and inside it if we are in some way responsible for creating it? It's just obvious. It's a first grader could understand this at this point. So there is no situation that you can never come to the conclusion of victimhood. If you do, it's on you. Have fun with that, and it doesn't matter your circumstances. It is completely up to you. Matt, if I can come up with some situations that are even worse than what you talked about, isn't it okay then to believe we're a victim? No, but go ahead if you want to give the not milk exactly what it wants. Go ahead. Again, it's whole reality is 2 sentences. We existed before this, before birth. We came here to do something. Our job is to figure out what it is that the whole of us needs from this experience. We have an adversary here that I call this vague thing, not milk, that works through its systems and its minions and its governments and everything else to block us from what we're supposed to do. Once we see that, how is it trying to block us? Through a trick that manifests and comes in thousands of different forms and shapes and sizes. Once we see through it, then it's up to us. Wait a second, I just cleared the fog. What am I here to do? There's no answer I can give you on that. You need to determine that for yourself. And you need to start doing the work and go do it. Maybe it's one long run-on sentence. It's that simple. Call me a simpleton. Call me an adult. Not an adult. An idiot. A dummy. Call me names if you want. Matt, you need my God to get out. No, I don't. You might need your God to get out. I don't. I'm already out. I mean, I just, it's that simple. Until somebody comes to me and explains where I'm going wrong on that, there's only one area where people have come to me and explained where I'm going wrong on that. Just one thing. It's people of a certain religion, and I understand their belief set. It says, you need Allah, Matt. You're not going anywhere. You need Jesus. Okay, Matt, you're wrong because you need the God that I believe in. I understand where they're coming from, of course. But in terms of objectively somebody explaining where that goes wrong, nobody's ever done it. I mean, think about that. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. Nobody's ever done it other than saying, you need my God. I mean, some troll will pop up and call me names and just, one of the troll comments that just repeats itself over and over again for I don't know how long is, this is so wrong. This is so completely false. This person is this, and then there's some name calling. It's wrong. It's this. But you know what those comments never do? They never provide even one sentence of what's right. Well, then what's the answer? I mean, these troll comments, and if it's just somebody declaring I'm wrong, I'm not going to say they're a troll, but there's usually, with the trolls, usually like a name or a personal attack or a put down. Not one of those comments, and I mean not one. For now, I'm through, if you go back to the old Texas Shrugged channel, been doing videos pushing 15 years. Back then, it had nothing to do with reality. It was what appears on the news last night. It happened at the mall seems like total bullshit. That's all we did. What appeared on the news last night that happened at the school seems like total bullshit. Okay, that was my path to truth. I mean, we're past all that, but that's what I was doing. But it doesn't matter. Whenever at least from a troll aspect, somebody says this is so wrong. Matt's out of his mind. They've never even put a sentence saying something like this. Well, Matt's right only in this one area. In these 4 areas, he's wrong. And then let me explain how he's wrong and what you guys need to know to make it right. And let me stress one more time. That comment has never come. That's almost weird that you never had one person that tried to trash me in the beginning, but then explained to me. Matt's hopeless. I'm not explaining to him. I'm explaining to all the other comments. I'm trying to save them from Matt. Let me explain how it really works. Nothing. In 15 years. That's weird, man. So, but basically, going back to it. So I believe this basic interpretation of reality is correct. The main job is part 1 to turn off all the fog and smoke machines. The whole reality trick gets you to believe the 7 deadly sins and don't you want the bigger house and let's take the family and move to Arkansas because I could get a promotion. Let's just pack up and leave. But in the end of the day, your person's only making $30,000 more, and after taxes and the move, they find out it's just a lateral move, and they left their entire family behind. They took their Fifi Addie girl. They took their cat to the pound and just said, "Here, take my cat. I'm moving." That's what happened they took the other pet's Fifi. They just took her to the pound. I mean, what kind of creature would do that? Or the pound? I guess cats don't go to the pound. They go to the shelter or whatever. They just dropped her off. Said, "We're moving." That's what they said to me. They said people had to move, and they took the dog and maybe the other cat, and she had some issues, so they just dropped her off. And luckily, I came a week or 2 later. Anyway. So, I don't know why I was talking about that, but getting back to the basics, it is one long run-on sentence, and I'm still waiting for somebody other than Matt. It's wrong because you never found Jesus. Okay, other than that, where is this going wrong? And if you believe that, then it's the greatest news of all time. You've essentially already won. be careful what you wish for because you'll manifest it, and make sure the most important thing, do the work. Get in touch with we don't have a lot of time. What are you here to do, and do it, because it has to be done, or potentially, as Tony says, the incarnation of higher self just keeps putting elements of itself into these reality system until the work is done or until it gets what it needs. So do it now. If you believe what Tony said about the other incarnations and there are other parts of you, then do the work now and get it done for all the rest of you. So getting back to, let me just tie it into, of course, the original point of this video. And Matt, don't forget to tie it in, because the whole point was, why are they pushing the multiverse? Why are they pushing this endless, different universes? And it just comes in every form, mostly through Hollywood and TV shows, and because it gets you to believe, or it gets not you, but it gets the average person to believe that there are other aspects of themselves. In some way, this is presented as unlimited or infinite aspects of themselves, but just a body. Oh no, it's not a spiritual, it's not an infinite spiritual being. It's just you in a body in other places at the same low level. And the Matt on Earth 200 has a BO that's even worse than Matt's here. And the one Matt has this sort of disgusting foot fungus issue on Earth 4,200, whatever it may be, gets everybody that's crunching their popcorn to just for a second to think, honey, you think this multiverse thing, and then it's back. You think let me not get ahead of myself. You think it's legitimate, honey, and there could be unlimited versions of me, and then just again, reality is based on what real people believe about it. Are they trying to manifest that somehow by getting real beings to believe in it? But just you in a body somewhere. Even there's that, is it Dark Matter, the Apple TV show, where the guy says the person trying to take me out is me, or something like that. There's I don't know what the Apple TV show, I think it's called Dark Matter, is about. I don't have Apple TV, but I might need to get it for Severance is my favorite. Severance season 2, January of 2025. I don't want to have to drive to Pam's every time. That ain't working out too. I'm still friendly with Pam and I still watch Gouda, but I don't want to have to drive 35 minutes each way to watch Severance. I'll just get it, and if I get it, I'll watch then Dark Matter. But somehow somebody in one multiverse, he can see the best version of himself, and he tries to, then he replaces that person. So it's like a Matt shows up. This Matt that shows up would have to be out of its mind, saying, "I want your life. You want my life. What the hell? You want to make videos, have people just constantly email you about different elements of dark reality? You're this close." I'm talking to the other Matt from the multiverse that just walked in like Dark Matter trying to take my place. I'm this close to going crazy every day because of all the, you're just inundated with studying dark reality because of all the nasty things Naughton is up to, and then try to interpret that. And then when it's all done and you can somehow in a sane way leave it all behind, just go build stoves like some drooling idiot in the backyard. I mean, that's what you want? You here to take my life? You're in the wrong multiverse, you Matt son of a beach. Get lost. Go back to where you came from. You're in a cubicle? Okay, this is better, but you can't have it. How many Matts in the multiverse are in a cubicle still? Matt, how'd you get out of that? I was in many different forms of cubicles when I worked for the insurance company. Every time I got promoted, you're going to be promoted, go to San Francisco. Cubicle. Where's my office if I'm getting promoted? It was cubicle, whatever. So they want you to believe, of course, they want everybody to believe that these multiverses exist, and you're still nothing more. You're not a spiritual being, multiverse. You're just in a body, and maybe I can hear somebody screaming at me. Of course, maybe they don't exist. And they're using the creative generative being to somehow manifest this the way they potentially used or tried to use the Apollo missions. You know what I'm talking about? Mercury, Gemini, Apollo 1969. They knew nobody can get into a star-kissed tuna fish can and go anywhere. But they thought, it was probably an experiment. Where did this term come from? A thought experiment. If they can get so many millions and tens or hundreds of millions of real people to believe it, maybe they can extend the borders of this reality and actually then maybe go places, or themselves being trapped, push out of here. If millions of people or billions believe in the space program and Captain Kirk, and you can get into Starkist. What was that guy's name? Charlie. Charlie was the from Starkist. Was he a? Because he was a tuna. As a kid, I thought he was a shark or something. They know you can't go anywhere, but they thought if enough people believed in it, it could change maybe the parameters of reality itself. Maybe that's what CERN is for. It's a channeler potentially of sorts, where this is a ridiculous example, but they present some in some AI scenario. Matt, this is close to breaking down, close, but I'll try to do the best I can. Some scenario in the news, which is now just, they don't even need catastrophe thespians or crisis. You know what? They just can do it in AI. Talked with the recent Trump took one in the ear, right? Yeah. Was the audience AI? That's certainly a possibility. Was anybody even there? So whatever they present on the news, they get tens or hundreds of millions of people to believe in it, to put emotion into it. Is CERN somehow, or whatever, maybe not the CERN, maybe this is wrong, but whatever, they have a device that harnesses it somehow to magnify the reality that real beings somehow create. Of course, I'm sure they probably dabble in this. There's something weird about CERN. I don't believe it's just smash particles together. It could be a particle collider, as they say, which means it's not an amplifier to create reality. And we know that sci-fi. Matt, you stop talking about that like it's real. Just make that into a sci-fi book. No, because it'll give the creeps even more ideas. It could be a particle collider, but in terms of what they say it's for is ridiculous. It's to continuously to try to understand the origins of the universe. They just keep coming back with the same rah! To continue to understand the origin of the universe. Rah! Continue to understand the origin of the universe. That's all they do. That's all. So all these particle colliders all over the place. So you first 5 times you collide your particles. Did you understand? Did you get what you need to know about the formation of the universe and what you call the Big Bang? Why you need to keep doing it? When you do it one time, you're done. Just close it up. Turn CERN into a giant, maybe a water slide park or something. Once you smash them together, but you need to smash them together for 20 to 30 years. You're gonna see something different the 4,000th time. Obviously, they're doing something else with it. It still could be a particle collider. Matt, it could be a particle collider to help shape reality the way they want when real spiritual beings focus their emotions on a fake news event. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, okay, this is getting a little out there. So, the multiverse, I'll look to your comments, guys. Why do you believe, and for anybody that doesn't, that threw their television out, you just have to understand or trust me, it's endless presentation for the past 10 years about multiple realities, multiverses. It's just, and it's not like there's 5 other realities. They always usually present it as infinite. And the one thing I forgot to mention when I was the scenario when the husband and wife were at the movie theater, the wife says back, "I'm sorry, I don't mean to be offensive." The partner says back to the they them, says, that actually what they're presenting here in this Marvel movie and Doctor Strange and what's it called, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness or something like that, or that sounds like In the Mouth of Madness. The person will say to the other, "This is backed up by Stephen Hawking," and a lot of the top physicists have this in unlimited or infinite reality theory. It's one of the top, if there's 7 or 8 agreed upon potential models of the universe. If you go and talk to these eggheads at Columbia, Brown, Harvard, Cambridge, Oxford, etc., they will tell you one of the potential models that's accepted as pure science. This is how lost and completely lobotomized these scientists are, that one is just a branching reality. So every decision that's made branches into a new reality. So is this a decision? Is just waving my hand, is that a decision? They never tell you what's a decision. Just bang this coke. Oh, that just caused a new reality. And in the reality, we're going to stick with this timeline. Matt's just going to continue to make this video. But in it, I just created a reality. And that new one I created, I just ran up and jumped off the roof. There's infinite. It's the most ridiculous horse shit. I mean, usually when they put something like that out with such importance and such magnitude, we should just, I was going to say there's some truth to it, but it's always a hijack. It's always a ninth inning hijack or manipulation to get people to believe, to hide the real truth. So need to probably focus on that at some point, like the scientific explanations that go back 30 years about this branching reality. Why were they so big on that? And what I don't, the scientists on their own some way come up with that, but the Not Nilk is in love with that sort of thing, or it wouldn't push it so aggressively, and now it's pushed it into this multiverse presentation that's TV shows and movies, with the idea to, maybe it was, maybe what I speculated on earlier, that they know that per the evolution of where spiritual beings, at least a small group of us, will progress to a certain point, or maybe everybody progresses a little bit, even it seems like as they get dumber and move towards idiocracy. And maybe they thought, again, in the monkey meeting, they thought, we got to give them something. They're getting a sense that they're bigger than this place, and okay, we'll give them multiverse. They'll think it'll satisfy their inclination that they're more than this place, but we'll show them it's just another body. It's just them in another stinky body in an unlimited number of universes. And then that will get them to stop thinking about that they're spiritually infinite. That's all. There's something to that. There's something to that. I guess, somebody stumbling upon this video, or the very, very juvenile first grade truther will say, it's about, no, Matt, they're out of ideas in Hollywood, and it's about making money. And they're out of creativity and imagination, so they go back to the same well, Matt, don't you know that? And yeah, sure. I mean, if they really needed creativity, they could just take like 10 people like me, you, Greg, and we could do the ideas. We wouldn't help them, but there's still a lot of real beings, creative beings, that are completely in their cubicle right now under the dragon's wing. They don't understand reality the way we do. They could get those types of real beings to come up with their scenarios if they can't do it themselves as some lower spiritual entity. Tony called it a sequential. So I mean, they could just essentially turn to us, not us, but in terms of, there's most people like us, in my opinion, are trying to cozy up under the dragon's wing. They're trying to get closer to it. They're trying to get that promotion inside the Coca-Cola company, and and someday, if they said to that person, the same spiritual being you and I are, 99% are fooled. It's only like less than 1%, of course, people like us that are just seeing through the trick, moving on. I mean, most people, of course, doesn't mean everybody in the cubicle at Coca-Cola company is an NPC. I mean, if that entity exists, there's a lot of real spiritual beings that are just most people around you, chasing its rewards, and so they're going to be fooled. And if somebody came along to those people, in terms of, we're talking about the lack of creativity to make a good movie, for example, you could go to those real people that, like you and me, that work in every single big company, they're just fooled, and get them to come up with the creative ideas. So that there's a reason. It's like a giant spell or dark or stalled century. There's a reason why they can't make a good movie. It's not like they couldn't. So again, the first grade truther will say, that's the reason for the multiverse, just because they're out of ideas. And these are the same people that believe that the U.S. and Russia and getting involved in Syria was about a pipeline, always about money. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's still people that pop up at this channel from time to time where they allude to it's about money. I don't understand how people like that can still be here. It's never about money. And the common sense of it is they can print $1 trillion a second, or $1 trillion a millisecond on their supercomputers. So it's never about money. So you have to, if they're pushing multiverse, you have to everything they do relates to one sentence: blocking your spiritual journey. Everything they do needs to be framed in that light or framework, or put into that context. Everything they do. What about there's Matt the event at the school in the mall in the news last night seems suspicious and whatever. Don't they want to take the gun? See, that's why they put all this bullshit into our community. They're going to take the guns. And I was there the day of or the day after the Robin Williams movie Captain Hook, which was filmed in Connecticut. I ran out to the Oaks gun show like everybody else. They're going to take the gun. They're going to take the, I was buying into a lot of the bullshit back in 2012. I didn't really start to understand reality pretty well till 2016 or so. Really. I mean, I told you for 7 years, in terms of the big day in 2001, 6 or 7 years, I believed in every bit of it. And I was upset that somehow he was dragging his dialysis machine across the mountains of Tora Bora and we couldn't find him. I was upset for 6 or 7 years. I believed every bit of it. I'm honest about that. I mean, I think most of you, if you're being honest, not everybody's like my buddy Greg, who that day was seeing through it. And I know there's many of you, many people. Many of you have come to me over the years and said, I saw through it on the first day. I'm not saying it's that. I'm just saying, I'd say that's rare. Only 5% of us did, 5 to 10%. Maybe not nearly that high. But please, I know many of you have come to me with your personal stories. But the story I know intimately is Greg's, where he was taking a test. His work paid for certain classes, and he was sequestered in a test, and they didn't know anything was going on. And they came out 2 hours later, and everybody's in front of the TVs, and so he was completely off guard. And it was like the way he describes it was almost like immediately, because he was more into, he had a very technical job, engineering pump components, system parts, engines, that sort of thing, with precise calipers and all this stuff. And so he had a kind of an engineering mind, and still does. And he like almost right away says that, I think he tried to talk to somebody in class. Said, that can't happen. That can't happen. Just symmetrical. And then I don't think he pushed it because he didn't know the people real well, but he saw it first day, and many of you did. It took me a long time. So, but once I started to see through it, then it was like all these things started to line up, and a lot of things just kind of came together for me where things started to make sense. Where in the past I was, all there was just chasing what the Matrix said to chase. And there was no fulfillment. There was no satisfaction. There was no pleasure in it. And I struggled with this, this lifestyle, whatever, for a while too. But now I'm just, I'm completely, would never, and you wouldn't be Cypher either. I'm saying would never ever take the bait and go back and be Cypher in the Matrix and want to return into the Matrix for prestige or money or just when you advance far enough, you just have no interest in its petty rewards and its dog treats. It could, as I've said, some of you don't believe me. When Puss in Boots were here, Not Milk Van could have showed up and offered me $1 billion. And I wouldn't have, but I did, the proviso in that, remember, was if I could use it for good, use it to change the world, use it to put just thousands of billboards up about wake up to this and that. And then, then Bootsy would have had to take one for the team. Bootsy, I loved her, but she was they were last minute rescues from a nursing home during C the V. They're being kicked out of a nursing home. They weren't originally my cats. I grew to love them. But if it was, as I've said, here's $1 billion for the cat that pees all over the house. It peed all over my house, trash bags down, 5 different places. Most of the time I go in the trash bags, never in the litter. I'm going to give you $1 billion, but you only can have fun with it. You can immediately buy a NASCAR race team, and you can set up your chateau on the south of France or whatever. But I got to take Bootsy. This cat's peeing all over your house. Wouldn't do it. And people still don't. I mean, most of you believe me, but some people don't. Matt, you don't. You can say that until it actually happens, and you're offered that. I'm telling you, wouldn't do it. I said, can I use that $1 billion to immediately start in changing the world? And do I have a not milk free zone guarantee that they're not going to come with the black helicopters and and take it all away. I mean, I would need certain. Then if I could use it to help people, not just change the world, wake people up, because you can't. That's not successful. But even just helping people, true philanthropy, which the word philanthropy means nothing gets done. If it's charity, then it helps people. That's why they use charity versus philanthropy. One doesn't do anything. One's just passing money around to different organizations that don't need the money. The Melvin P. and Belinda Gates Foundation gives it to the Harvard Endowment. And then this money goes over here to the Ford Foundation. And then this goes through the J. Paul Getty Trust. And it just moves around to organizations that don't need it. And then they take tax write-offs probably every time it moves. Well, they'll do some little shelter will pop up with I think I wrote about one of my books, they'll give stale hot dogs out or rotten meat to the homeless, and they'll get the stale buns for free from the Giant and the Acme and the the different food stores like Vons and Safeway. You got Ansa, you got stale meat, you got stale buns. Can we get this is the people that work for the Belinda and Melvin P. Gates Foundation? Probably. Matt, it's breaking down. Wrap it up. Okay. We'll take, maybe they do offer $5 for the stale buns. Maybe they get them for free. And they put them through their little homeless support soup kitchen, and then that's how they justify their, they do the minimal, okay? They probably do a little more than rotten meat and stale buns. But in terms of what they could do, these charitable trusts, that they do the absolute minimum. Philanthropy is an absolute joke. It doesn't exist. That's why it's called philanthropy versus charity. All right, guys, that was long. Sorry for all the, all over the place. I think you'll agree with me, but I'll look to your comments why they push the multiverse. If they need you to believe that all you are is just a body or a body in another multiverse, then somehow you're responsible for everything. You, in some way, will manifest that on yourself or block yourself from what you need to do or your ability to get out of here. The final translation or the final summary is it's the greatest news of all time. Because if you study the adversary here, it always comes back to it has to be about us. Or why is it laying down its trick? Everything is about it wants us to believe we're limited and we need this and we need that. Once you see the nature of its trick, which is always the same sentence, it translates into the best news of all time, which is the end of the Wizard of Oz. Dorothy always had the ability to do whatever she wants, to not be harmed, to get out, and it's the exact same thing for us. If you truly believe that, there is no circumstance that can ever present itself, ever, that where you would say it's okay for me to be a victim. If you choose to be a victim, then it's your choice, and you're doing exactly what the Not Milk wants. Thanks for listening.